Is this swing rated for this much weight?
Maybe. Oh. Okay. This is a bad idea. Oh.
Hello. You act like you've not seen this in ages. You just saw us.
This is going to be part 2 of our story series. We did part 1. If you haven't seen that, I'll leave a link in the description. We filmed this video once, and if you've watched the last couple of videos, you probably heard me mention that. We filmed this once, and then it just didn't work. I was using my new iPhone, and the camera just kept zooming in and out, and the quality just was really not that great. So we wanted to refilm this for everyone with better quality. So this story series is going to be about the 4Runner. So we've got lots of stories about the 4Runner, and if you haven't been on the channel before, you're probably like, what are you talking about when you say 4Runner? I will let Katie introduce the 4Runner. We have a picture, too, that we will put in for you to see.
I have a really cool 99 4Runner, a 99 Toyota 4Runner, SR5, and I shouldn't say exactly I have it. It's Mom and Dad's. Mom and Dad bought it in maybe 02, maybe, and 01, 02, 03, somewhere in there. And so they've had, it's only been a 2-owner. When they bought it, it had 50,000 original miles on it, and we've had it ever since. Mom drove us to school in it. We went to high school in it. I drove it to college, and I've just kind of taken it as my own and had it ever since. So anytime something needed to be done or something needed to be hauled or people were like, what are you doing? We were just always like in the 4Runner. They'd be like, bring the 4Runner. It was just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody liked it. Everybody loves it as much as I do, and everybody's always wanted to buy it, and I'm like, you don't want this thing.
Yeah, they definitely have. Also, we're like just been a tiny bit under the weather, but we're getting better. I just want to say that because we kind of stopped up and we're sniffling and coughing a little, so I just want to address that. We're fine. We're feeling much better. We've just been just like a common cold kind of thing, and we're fine.
Oh yeah, I'll feel better in probably like in 2 days. So
yeah,
I already feel like a whole lot better.
Just want to address that because I know we're going to get a lot of comments saying, "Oh, you sound like
Katie
you're stocked
sounds
up."
like a man." That's probably what everybody's going to say because I'm all stuffy. So we introduced the 4Runner. We've had a lot of really good times in the 4Runner and a lot of
crazy times.
So
we've got lots of stories about the 4Runner, but we've picked out 3 that we're going to share. Story number 1. I'll start out with that.
Okay.
If you are afraid of rats, you're not going to want to hear this story. Just Olive laying down. If you're afraid of rats, you're not going to want to hear this. So, a couple years ago, this is before I even met Austin, so it's been, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago, I was weed eating at Mom and Dad's, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to weed eat down the side of the driveway here and make it look nicer where it's growing up. And Katie said, I'm going to take the trash. I was like, okay, well, when you get it, just come down the driveway, pick me up, and I'll get in with you and go. And so she comes down, and I'm weed eating, and she's like, okay, I'll just pull down here to our uncle's garage, and you can get in. And then she makes like this face, and it's like, oh no. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is it? And she said a rat had run at her feet. So apparently there was a rat in the trash that got in the car when we put the trash in the car.
Yeah, and it come out of the trash to attack me.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, just pull down there to where it's flat, and we'll figure this out. So we got all the trash out of the car, and about that time, we realized, why is the trash bags making noise? Why does it sound like these trash bags are crying? So we got a little closer, and then there was a little tear in one of the bags, and I was like, okay, why is there a tiny, itty-bitty, like, not even half the size of a pencil eraser paw sticking out
like
of this?
a little hand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we pulled down at the foot of the driveway, and we're like, of course, evacuate the trash, get the rat out of here, that's when we realized the bags were crying, and then we saw the little hand, and
so then we realized that this was a mama rat, and she had babies in this trash. And at that point, we were like, oh man, what do we do? Okay, now look, most people probably would have said, take the trash to the dump and get rid of the rats. But we couldn't. We felt bad for the rats. And
if
also,
they weren't crying, I wouldn't have felt bad. Of course, we would have never found them.
Yeah, and the mama was still in the car, and we needed her out. That was also the main thing. And it was like, okay, how are we going to get this rat out of the car? So we thought, perfect, we'll bait it with the babies. So, I mean, these rats were like this big, naked, couldn't open their eyes. I mean, like they had been born 5 minutes ago. Yeah, it was kind of weird. So we put these babies in the box, and it worked to lure the mama to the babies. And
it was smart. It was my idea. It was a good idea.
It was a good idea, but then Katie, I told Katie, I was like, look, okay, when the baby rats get in the mama comes in the box after the babies, you gotta close the box like really quick, and we'll get them out of there. So Katie didn't close the box. And
I didn't know. Good idea, bad execution. The mama run back to the box pretty quickly.
Grabbed one of the babies and took it off in the car.
Before I could shut the lid, because I just totally panicked. I didn't want anywhere near that rat.
No.
All I could think about was like it biting me and then me getting some sort of disease.
Yes.
So then I was like, okay, now we have mama plus one lost in the car, and the box is still in here. And I was just like feeling like we're gonna waste this whole day on rats and not get anything done.
Yeah.
And what are we gonna do?
So then I decided, okay, we're going to do this again, and when she comes back, I'm going to close the lid. And I did. So we got the mama and the rest of the babies out of the car, but we still had a baby lost in the car. So very frustrating because we don't want a rat in the car, but also we felt really bad. We didn't want this baby to be separated from its mama and this little baby rat to be suffering. So very frustrating, but I guess we took the trash and we came back, and it took us hours. We did find this baby rat, but it took us hours to find it.
We just kept looking and looking and like looking, and I looked where I saw her take it off, like what the direction that I saw her run with it in. And I looked everywhere, and finally I was like, it's 4 o'clock, and we've wasted this whole day, and I can't find her, and everybody else laugh at us, but I'm just so tender-hearted. I just didn't want to, on purpose,
separate this baby from its
or
mama.
on purpose kill him. I just didn't feel like I had to. It's like if there's a spider that's not attacked me, and I see it, I'm going to try to catch it and let it loose. I'm not going to kill it when it didn't have anything to do with me. So, about 4 o'clock, I thought...
Yeah, later in the day, 4 p.m.
I'm thinking it's over. But I went out, every now and then I would go back outside and open the car door and listen.
We were just trying to see if we could hear it crying.
We were, and so I went out around 4 and I heard it. And I heard it crying, and I thought I had pinpointed where it was crying. And I thought
it sounded like it was like in the floorboards of the passenger seat.
Yeah, like up under the dash or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, if she carried it in there.
Forget it. We'll never get it out.
Yeah, I'm going to be able to do anything about this. But I kept thinking, no, it just sounds like it's, somewhere that I could get to, like not up inside the vehicle or into the dash. And so we just kept listening, and I thought, well, let's just see if we can't take a few things apart and find this rat. And so what we ended up doing was, I was like, Corey, go get me a screwdriver, and there's some trim where the carpet meets the edge of the car.
Like right as you step into the car, just the plastic piece.
Right, and I said,
on the floor.
It could be under that. I don't know how, but that's like the only thing that we could take off, and it kind of sounded like it was coming from in there. One of the only things that we were able to remove. And so we got the screwdriver and loosened it up. And to this day, I have no idea how that mama got that baby drug down in there, but there it was. And there was only this much space down the whole length of it. And so, sure, the baby might fit in there, but I have no idea how mom did, because mom was a lot bigger than that. And she had carried that baby up into the that trim that goes across the edge where the carpet's at, kind of close to where the running board area outside the vehicle, but it was still inside the door.
Crazy.
We got it out, and we reunited it, and thank goodness that was over. And you better bet the next time I put a trash bag anywhere that wasn't in the bed, like the open bed of a truck,
I shook
it real good, and I still do. I shake them and want to find out. That was a freak thing. I've never had that happen again.
Was like pretty unusual. I could not believe it that we found that rat. I mean, it was like there was no room. It was like under the thing that's just screwed completely flat to the outer edge, like of the car when you first step in, if that makes sense. I just could not believe that it was like that. But it was worth saving. Again, most people would have been like, toss those rats. But we just felt bad.
Just tender-hearted, so we fixed it.
Yeah.
We found a solution to our problem, and by the end of the day, it was all taken care of. So, what's our next story?
The night that the Forerunner died on us.
No, great.
That was really crappy.
So this is less like crazy, more like, it's still crazy, but disappointing. So, it was in November, Corey said she remembered. It was probably like November.
It's like a week before Thanksgiving.
2018, 2019, maybe somewhere around there, I don't know.
Yeah,
and
2019.
We were at a friend's house. And we were going to leave. We weren't that far from home. We were in Peachtree. Who knows where old Peachtree is? That's where we were at. And I was like, it's time to go home. And the people I was with, they were like, do you want us to follow you? Because they were like, we know you're having car issues. And I said, no, you don't have to follow me. I think it's going to be okay. Corey begged to drive home, and I told her no, that the Forerunner had been acting funny. And I was like, I can get this thing home. I know I can. Me and this car have a weird relationship. I can do this. And Corey, I think, was kind of a little bit tiffed and put out when I finally just got in the driver's seat, jerked the keys away from her, got in the driver's seat, and said no. So we started out of that place, and the car started acting funny, started doing the funny stuff that it had been doing, kind of misfiring, not running good, which had led me to believe it was a battery situation. And I thought, well, we're going now, so it'll even out, it'll stop, and if the battery's low while we're driving, it'll charge, and it wouldn't have cranked if it had no battery.
Right.
So I thought,
we weren't even that worried.
We weren't even that worried, no. And I knew that it had some other things going on, and maybe it's not like the vehicle that you would take all the way to like Asheville and back, but whatever. We're just not that far from home. The only problem was it just happened to be nighttime. So we get a little bit closer to home, and I'm like, I don't know, this isn't the normal things that it usually does. This is kind of funny. Okay. And we get almost home. We're really close. We're like on Brasstown Road, like super close to the state road that we turn off on. And that's when I realized there was going to be a problem, because I could tell that I was like, this immediately, I was like, okay, this is not a battery problem. This is an alternator problem. And when the alternator goes out, we're out of luck. We will be walking, because this car will die. And so it was a full moon that night, and that full moon totally saved us. Because at that point, my interior lights, my dash lights, and my headlights, all the lights went out. And it was just pitch black dark. It was just nothing. But that full moon allowed me to be able to see. And there was no clouds. And so here we are driving down through there. No headlights, no dash lights, no lights of any kind. But we have the full moon, and I know the road really well. And we're, like I said, we're within almost, not quite, but almost seeing distance of the state road that we turn off on to go to our house. And I'm like, Corey's scared at this point. And I'm like,
man, I was praying.
I bet she's thinking, like, I'm glad I didn't drive. I'm like, this is why I didn't let you drive. Which, not that Corey could have done a fine job. It wouldn't have been a big deal, but I just was like, I didn't want her to have to deal with it. So at that point too, I'm realizing that the car is going to die, because I've got like the gas pedal to the floor, and it's just like not going as fast as it should, and nothing's working, and I can literally feel the juice just draining from this vehicle. So I told Corey, I was like, as long as we make it to our state road, if we have to walk, we'll walk. If we have to do whatever, it won't matter. But we won't be at a risk of being hit on the highway in the dark, because nobody can see us. I don't want our vehicle totaled, and we can't just sit in it with cars coming up behind us and not being able to see us. So we got onto our state road. The car, like I said, I could tell it was dying. Pedal to the metal, nothing happening. So we get almost home, like to our gravel driveway home, and it finally dies, and that's it. So I put it in neutral, and I coast backwards. I kind of coast, it's a hill, so I kind of coast down the hill a little bit and around the curve, and put the car in park and pull the emergency brake. And I'm like, this is what we've got, Corey. It is officially dead, and it is not out of gas. And what we're going to do now? So about that time, we saw headlights behind us, and I'm like, oh crap, here comes a car. I want to make sure that they can see us and have plenty of time to see us to get stopped. And I'm kind of wondering who it is. I mean, I know it's one of my family members, but... So I get out of the car, and I run down probably a good 50 feet from my car, and I start jumping up and down on the road, thinking that those people, their headlights will pick up my movement, will pick me out. And it does, and they stop. And I go over to them, and it's my cousin Brian. And my cousin Brian, he just lived right there. So I said, well, can I go use your landline, because the service is spotty there, and call my dad? So he said, sure. So he stayed there sitting in the road with his lights on, so that anybody else that come through would know to slow down or stop. Use the phone, call my dad. Dad come down, hooked a chain to the car, and we pulled it into the neighbor's yard, into my uncle's yard, because it was the only place we had to put it. And of course, it was really hard to steer, because I had no power steering, because my car wouldn't turn on, and I was just muscling it. And we got it put in there, and the next couple of days went down there in the yard and changed the alternator. And then it never did that again. It's never done that. It's done some other funny stuff, but that's never happened again. It has had a few starters. That thing eats starters, but never had another problem like that. And that was not fun. That was a pretty scary experience.
That was pretty scary, and I just had never been in that situation before, where it's at night, and when the dash lights started going out, like the headlights, everything, and it just slowly, everything like one by one started going out. I was like, this is like really bad. We weren't that far from home. I just kept praying, like, if we can just get to our state road, we can walk. I mean,
Yeah.
we could have walked from where we were at. It's not that it might have taken us 20 or 30 minutes. There was blind curves. That was the problem. Like, if it dies right here in the middle of the road, we have to get out of the car because someone will come around this curve, hit us, and kill us.
And they'll never be able to see it in
they'll
time.
never be able to see it, and you don't want your car totaled. You don't want to hurt anyone else, but what do you do? So
Yeah, and then there's the whole
Yeah.
creepy factor of, like, almost
Yeah.
guarantee that there'll never be a problem. But I don't like the idea of being a young woman alone at
No.
night, stranded on the highway for any length of time.
I prefer to not have that happen. It worked out. God is good, and He saved us on that one. But
Yep.
that was not cool.
It worked out, though. I mean, it really did.
Now we've got one last story about when the Forerunner did a similar thing, but this was not an alternator issue. This was a battery issue, and usually that's like if you can just get it cranked and keep the car running. That's why I wasn't that worried that night when we first started out. I thought it's the battery because the Forerunner has done that several times. It gets corroded, and I thought as long as it cranks back and is charging the whole time, it's fine.
Yep.
Of course, it wasn't. But this next story is about the battery. So this was our very first day of college, our first day at university. We went to Young Harris College in Georgia because we're like 20 minutes from the Georgia line.
Yep, and you were so close, they granted us in-state tuition.
Yeah,
That was nice.
which was wonderful, a real blessing, and we could commute, so we saved a lot of money by not having to live on campus.
Plus, I don't want to live with a stinky roommate. I done had one. I'm joking.
That's funny. First day of college, and we got up extra early, and this was like, I don't know, maybe 30-minute commute for us, so first day, it's like we'll get up early and we'll leave plenty of time to get there, find the class, park, and just have tons of time to not be stressed or anything like that. So we go out, get in the car, and the engine will not even turn over, not even remotely. So of course, Mom and Dad have already gone to work at this point. Now at that point, that was before I had my car, and we shared the Forerunner. So there was no other car there that we could have taken. And we called Dad, and he just said, "I'm sorry, I'll come home as quick as I can." And so he was on the way home, and this was the first day of college, so we didn't really have any contact info to like contact the teacher and say, "Hey, I can't come, my car is dead." So he got home and opened the hood, and sure enough, the battery was corroded, so he cleaned it off, and off we went. But we got there with like 10 minutes of the first class to spare. That was humiliating, to have to walk in late to your very first class, 10 minutes late, and say, "I'm sorry, we're poor, we have one car and our car died." So
I worried that they would believe us, but
Yeah,
it was the honest truth.
That's the biggest thing, is they've never even met you yet, so it's not like you've had a record of perfect attendance and missed one class and they can say, well, they're probably telling the truth. No, they didn't even know, so that sucked.
What we actually ended up doing is we found another, what was her name? I can see her face plain as day. Her last name was Arnold. It's funny but her name was Allison. Allison Arnold, I think.
She walked us in. She was like, because we didn't even know where we were going, and luckily she was like I think maybe she was a senior, and she was able to say, "Oh, I know that teacher. It's really no problem. Let me walk you in." And that was so kind of her.
It was very nice of her.
Really appreciated that.
She's a nice kid. We appreciated that. So that's the thing about the Forerunner. With any vehicle, you're going to have maintenance and you're going to have upkeep. And it just happens to be that the Forerunner, and that's not the half of it. Trust me, that car's done
But overall,
done lots of fun stuff
it's been
with
a
me.
really good car. I mean, Mom and Dad bought it in like what 2000 or 01 or something.
02 maybe.
02, and it had 50,000 miles on it, and now it's got over 200,000.
218,893.
And it's been a great car. I mean, and we've had it all that time. So
it really, I really
at this
have
point,
to say,
we just can't really get rid of it.
No, we've been attached to it, and so even though the paperwork within all that, of course, it's still Mom and Dad's. They paid it off and all that. They never put it in my name, but I'm like, this is my car, y'all. Nobody can have it. Katie wants this car. So we love the Forerunner. We're thankful that it's seen us through all these times, that it's been there when we needed it, and that we've got all kinds of stories. I mean, just scratches the surface.
Those are some crazy stories with the Forerunner, but you'll have to comment below and let us know if you've had any kind of rat experience in your car like we have.
Oh, yeah.
Any kind of experiences with any cars, anything like that. We're really enjoying filming these story series, and comment below and let us know if you are. Please feel free, like I said, to share your stories with us. Everyone has stories from every culture, every background, and that's one thing that I think is so fascinating, just to get to hear different people's stories. Funny, crazy, sad, happy, whatever
Different perspective
than
your own.
Yeah. So thank you for watching. God bless you, and we will see you on the next video.